game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. This gotta mean something to you. It gotta mean something. Everything you got. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
You ready to make history? Come on now. Yeah. You know, there's these two words. And when I say them, people get goosebumps cause they know what happens next. So without further ado,
Free smoke.
look. Scared cause I'm drowning in silence with bad thoughts. These days I don't have nothing to say, man, the bag talks. I put in headphones on my driver. Pull up to the spot and give a good dick and Godiva. I can't lie, I'm uninspired. No more pillow talking about nonsense. I only stick around to put some band-aids on my conscience. I don't know why I feel so bad, nigga. That's what we do, no foundation. We don't build no more, we just screw. Half a bottle of Henny, girl, I'm going with the wind. The same niggas say they happy for me, ain't want me to win. So I'm done on my friends. Don't need help popping Coronas and reminiscing. I just call up Big Bro J and say it's time for venting. If I live forever, I hold this hate for some centuries. You don't know how much or how you doing what it meant to me, but motherfuck all that. I don't even offer up the time to make the call back. Stupid Lodo, if they don't get the picture now, man, I crop them out of the photo. I can't relate to my peers. Been doing this shit for years. I'm motivated by fears. I took the wheel and I steer. My sound not dictated by fuck boys in Atlanta. Stay gifted like this album was ghost written by Santa Bars forever, like they decided to throw me under Slammer. Every song's a hit like they picture me underhanders. I could drop 1,000,000 songs, but they never gon' understand us. Soapbox sermons for niggas never giving chances. Fight our whole lives to get these weak ass advances. Work twice as hard for the shit that they getting handed. And this ain't even nothing we chose, nigga, we branded. Still can't tell why all of these niggas mad at me. I'm trying to get 100 so I can put my team on salary. Give it all to the art, man, I turn my life to a gallery. Man, damn, what a fucked up masterpiece. 1,100 shots and I swear, man, I felt them all. If we ain't even good on our block, man, who can we call? Pre-decline state of mind, we broke crabs in the barrel. Got us fighting our folk, man, this shit just a life of peril.
Winning has a price. And leadership has a price.
I'm coming. I promise you, on my life, I'm coming. From the first snap, man. From the first second. What are we gonna do, man? All back against the wall. All back is against the wall.
Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Saint, the recap. This is a mixture of two shows, though, because it's the recap and it's picks and predictions, because we got a Thursday night football game coming up tonight. But first, we have to go over the last game of week 1. The New York Jets were in San Francisco taking on the San Francisco 49ers, and they lost. I don't know why I was about to say they blew the game. They didn't blow the game. They lose the game 19-32. And it's a lot to talk about. But first, I appreciate you for joining me. Listen. Come close. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you chose to stop by and check me out. And listen, I appreciate you for that. I really do. You couldn't even imagine how much I appreciate you for that. So listen, we got some things to talk about. San Francisco 49ers. I can't remember if it was on the show, on one of the past shows recently, where I said, based off of what I've seen in the NFC, or is it from what I've seen week 1 and what I expect to see, I would not be shocked right now if the 49ers get back to the Super Bowl. I think Jalen Hurts will have to have a phenomenal season if they're going to knock off the 49ers. But this game this game didn't do much for me in the way of the 49ers are a great team because they beat the Jets. Because I don't think the Jets are an upper echelon team in the AFC. Now, I could be proven wrong about that by season's end, but at this very moment, before this game was even played, did not think the Jets were an upper echelon team. Now, when I say upper echelon team, I'm thinking about teams like the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bills, Miami. What's the other team? Oh, and some NFC teams. But I don't think of the New York Jets in that upper echelon because I think they got if not evident tonight, after Monday night, they have things to work on. But I do want to start off talking about the San Francisco 49ers because they did not have Christian McCaffrey because he has a ACL strain, I think it is. And that's tough because it feels like every time you hear that, that's like a precursor to a tear. And I hope that don't happen because Christian McCaffrey has been such a force since joining the San Francisco 49ers. But filling in for him was Jordan Mason, and he had a hell of a game. 147 rush yards, a touchdown. I think he averaged about 6 or 7 yards a pop. Like, the offensive line. This is the thing I'll say about the San Francisco 49ers, and this is why I usually pick them to beat teams in the NFC. For 2 reasons, really. I don't think it's a quarterback outside of Jordan Love, who is still young. I don't think right now it's a quarterback in the NFC that challenges Kyle Shanahan's offense and his defense like a Pat Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. I don't think it's a quarterback over there like that can challenge his defense. I also don't think it's I don't want to take a shot at the head coaches, but I don't necessarily think it's a head coach over there like an Andy Reid or John Harbaugh who can scheme up a team to be able to beat a San Francisco. Well, I do love Sean McVay. Sean McVay is an exception, and Matt LaFleur. But aside from that, I don't really think, because Matt LaFleur not even a champion yet. Sean McVay is really the exception, but when you look at San Francisco, I just think right now, because of that lack of quarterback play, because it's not really a coach who you say, I think he's going to outcoach Kyle Shanahan. That to me just put them levels above these other teams. Not to mention the offensive line for San Francisco. The offensive line for San Francisco remind me of offensive lines in the AFC. Like the teams that the Steelers and the Ravens and the Chiefs, they want to put together a great offensive line to be able to dominate up front. When you look at San Francisco's offensive line, the only other offensive line, in my opinion, right now that's as dominant as that is probably the Eagles. The Lions have a pretty good offensive line. I'm not going to stunt. I like the Lions offensive line. It's another offensive line. The Cowboys offensive line, not what it was, but back when it was a couple years ago when they had all them Hall of Famers lined up. But when you look at the offensive line that the San Francisco 49ers put on the field, they're going to push guys back. And I just don't think right now the New York Jets have a defensive line that was prepared to take on an offensive line like San Francisco, which is why San Francisco was able to run this ball at will all game. And when you can run the ball the way San Francisco ran that ball in Kyle Shanahan's offense, it just set up easy passes. And to me, this is why I like Brock. I understand a lot of people not the biggest Brock fans, but I don't overrate Brock. This is why I can appreciate Brock for what Brock is. Brock remind me a lot of Alex Smith or really a Jared Goff, if you really think about it. Just like he don't have like some special generational arm talent. He ain't some like generational reader of the defense. You know, he not really beating you with his skill set, or with his talents per se. I understand it's the talent around him and the coaching and the position he put in. However, when you get guys who understand what they are, they can play by the playbook, they can go by what the play is called, they understand who they're supposed to get the ball to. I think that's a great talent. And to me, when I'm thinking about a lot of the game manager type of quarterbacks in the NFL right now, to me, Brock Purdy is one of the best. I don't even think it's close. Like, Dak Prescott is a great game manager. I would not take him right now over Brock Purdy. I think Jared Goff is a great game manager. I wouldn't take him over Brock Purdy. I think at this stage in Matthew Stafford's career, he flirt in and out of game manager and whatnot, but I would take Brock Purdy over him right now also. Like, I think it's a place in the NFL for a great game manager. I think we shit on game managers a lot of time, but when you call somebody a game manager, people think that that's a slight. I don't think that it's a slight, because I think it's bad game managers. And if you bad, you're not even a good. Bad quarterbacks are not game managers. Like, a bad quarterback, you usually say, we just need him to manage the game. We just want him to be a game manager. But good quarterbacks, some of the best quarterbacks were game managers. Like, Tom Brady late in his career wasn't beating you because he had some crazy arm strength or shit like that. He was he was probably the greatest game manager the game has ever seen. Like, I don't think it's a problem with being a game manager. And I think Brock Purdy, the fact that he don't lose you games, he don't turn the ball over at a crazy clip, he don't turn the ball over really at all, to be honest with you. He understand he don't have to do too much. He just get the ball to his playmakers. Like, he not out there trying to. You want to know what's crazy? People go at Brock Purdy and people go at Jalen Hurts and say, oh, it's the talent, it's the talent, it's the talent. You've never seen Joe Burrow play great without talent around him. In college, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Patrick Queen. Like, he has studs all over that LSU team. He get to the league. Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon. Like, I never hear people say, oh, look at all the talent Joe Burrow got. But for some reason, it's always look at all the talent Jalen Hurts got. Look at all the talent that Brock Purdy have. All three of these dudes done reached the Super Bowl, and I can make an argument. All three of them were heavily reliant on the talent around them. Jalen Hurts had a phenomenal game in the Super Bowl, because I do think Jalen Hurts can do a little. I don't really think Jalen Hurts is twitchy and moved the way he did in that game. But at that version of him was, to me, you could do more with him than those other two versions that you got from Brock and Burrow in the Super Bowl. But I just don't understand how people decide to go at certain quarterbacks and just leave Joe Burrow out there. Like, it's absolutely insane. But I appreciate what Brock Purdy brings to the table. And the fact that he can go out there, get the ball to his targets, get it to him on time, that's a huge thing. I talk all the time about how Justin Fields don't do nothing even decent to me. One of Brock Purdy's greatest talents is he get the ball to his talents on time. He understand when he supposed to throw the ball. He understand they route timing. He understand where in the defense this ball is supposed to go and where to put it. If Brock Purdy don't have pressure on him, 9 times out of 10, he putting the ball exactly where it's supposed to be. Simple shit like that will get you far as a quarterback. Justin Fields don't even do simple shit like that. So that's when I'm picking apart different quarterbacks and things like that. To me, that's a skill that people don't give Brock Purdy enough credit for. I'm not coming on here like some of these analysts that get on TV and go crazy and telling you Brock Purdy is Mahomes or Joe Burrow or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, or hell, I'm not telling you he and Matthew Stafford. But he is a talent because of the things that he does right. And the biggest thing to me when it comes to quarterbacks is, do they turn the ball over? He don't. And is his production something that helps the team? His production helps the team. So listen, you can say, what would he be without this talent? Right now, we don't have to find out. As long as he continue to progress with this talent, Brock Purdy will be fine. And you look at this game. He didn't throw a touchdown in this game. He didn't turn the ball over in this game also. He allowed his run game to carry them throughout this game. He hit the dudes that got open and allowed I think the 49ers led the league in yards after the catch last year. I'm not surprised. The way Kyle Shanahan's offense is, Brock Purdy not going out there, and I understand he throw the ball down the field and whatnot, but if you look at the game plan, if you look at how the game is being called, when they dominate and running the ball, dudes is running wide open from the play calls that Kyle Shanahan is setting up. And I do want people to remember, Kyle Shanahan and that offense is marching out George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Jennings. Like, this ain't a phenomenal offensive line. It ain't like they just marching out one great receiver, a decent running back. No, it's a lot of talent. So when they are dominating you on the ground, that talent, and they got Kyle Juszczyk, It's a lot of talent, a lot of pass catchers, a lot of great route runners, a lot of guys who are great at getting open, a lot of guys who are great after the catch. It's tough to stop all of that. And the Jets couldn't stop it. Not to mention it felt like the 49ers were on the field all night on offense. And it felt like the Jets defense was on the field all night on defense. Like, you cannot be on the field that long against Kyle Shanahan. You just can't. Not against that type of offense. And when you finally get the ball back, a quick turnover by the Jets on an interception. Like, the Jets truly never stood a chance in this game. It never, in my opinion, looked as though this would be a close game, especially when you realize how dominant the run game was for the 49ers. If the 49ers can run the ball on you, it's not likely you're going to win this game. Now, the thing that's intriguing to me about this is people keep saying, oh, well, how do you stop the 49ers? They back to doing the same. You stop the 49ers the same way I've been telling you stop them for the last couple of years. You go get you a Mahomes, a Allen, a Jackson, a Burrow, a quarterback who can force Kyle Shanahan, quarterbacks with defenses that can force the run game, that can quiet the run game and not allow it to dictate the game. Force Brock Purdy to play outside of the game plan and understand that those quarterbacks can play outside of the game plan and above. They are the high ties, not Joe Burrow, but we done seen Joe Burrow dominate. Now, I would be interested about, see, that's the thing interesting about Joe Burrow, because I'll get to Joe Burrow later. But the thing, if you're a Jets fan, the beauty in this game is you can get over it real quick, because you'll probably be 5-1 after the first 6 weeks of the season, because the next 4 teams you play, ass. You don't got great quarterback play coming up. Not consistent offense is coming up. So I won't be impressed with the Jets over the next couple weeks. I'm just telling you that right now, because they should beat these bad teams that they're about to play. However, I am intrigued to see what the Jets, because the Jets going to have an easier schedule because of the record they had last year. But I'm intrigued to see how the Jets progress throughout the season. For the simple reason, you have to play the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bills. They are not teams that are going to let Aaron Rodgers just sit in the pocket and throw. Like, they're going to hit you the way the San Francisco 49ers just did. And it can get ugly real quick. And I don't think Aaron Rodgers is the same Aaron Rodgers that won that last MVP. He don't move the same. He always going to be a great thrower of the football, but he don't take chances the way a Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Allen take chances. As great as he is, and the offense for the Jets is going to look better because Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback they done had in the last decade plus. However, I do not believe that the Jets have the firepower to be able to do what the rate. Even if you look at the Jets and say, well, I like some of the weapons on that team more than the Ravens. They don't have a Lamar Jackson playmaker on that team. As great as Aaron Rodgers is, he is not the player that he once was. He is nowhere near the playmaker that Lamar Jackson is. He is nowhere near the playmaker that that Josh Allen is, or that Pat Mahomes is. And so when you look at how much those 3 quarterbacks can cover up for a team, because when you have those 3 quarterbacks, you don't care about the pieces that you're missing on certain aspects of the team, because you say those 3 dudes going to cover it up. I don't believe that you can say that with Aaron Rodgers. For one, you got to pray that he make it through the entirety of the season healthy. After that are the Jets going to be good enough to compete? Because the only thing that I ever hear about the Jets is defense, 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 defense. However, you just saw what the 49ers did to that defense. I think the Jets got a decent defense, a good defense. But I told you, I think it was last year, the Jets defense, the peak of it, we have already seen. They will not continue to play at that peak because guys get older, guys get slower, offenses figure defenses out, guys get paid and go elsewhere. It's just the reality of it all. The best of the Jets defense with the core that they've had mostly, that's past them. They can still be a great defense, but they're not finna be a defense, in my opinion, that's like, can't be figured out. A Mahomes, mind you, even at their peak, we saw quarterbacks figure them out. We saw Lamar Jackson hang up points on them. We saw Joe Burrow. We saw Josh Allen. They was able to beat Josh Allen, but We saw great quarterbacks be able to figure that defense out. So to me, the biggest thing for the Jets will be, not to mention, the Ravens won't have a bad defense. Neither will the Bills. Neither will the Chiefs. The Jets got to be great offensively. They have to be great offensively. If they want to compete with the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bills, hell, maybe the Bengals, possibly the Chargers, Miami, they're going to have to be consistent offensively. They're going to have to be better than what they were. Because I don't think, from what I saw Monday, I don't think that they're good enough to beat. I don't think they're going to finish higher than Miami. Right now, watching Jets, that's a third place team. Buffalo and Miami going to finish above them. And I think Buffalo and Miami both going to make the playoffs because I think those are two upper echelon teams in the AFC and the NFL. Now, I understand how some people may feel about Tua Tagovailoa, but the reality is Tua just did damage Sunday without a run game. He came back, and I understand people going to be like, well, Saint, that's Trevor Lawrence. I get that. But he was down 17-0, did not have a run game. And people always talk about how Tua can't throw you back into a game and win it. He did it. So, and now somebody gonna be like, well, he got Mike McDaniels. You really can't win. When people want to be haters, they gonna find ways to be haters. But shout out to Jordan Mason. Absolute dominant game for the 49ers. I don't know how Kyle Shanahan finds some of these random motherfuckers who can just come in and be dominant running. But when you run behind an offensive line like that, when you run behind a team that just understand what they're supposed to do. Like, I know some people might think I'd be hating on the 49ers based off of how I talked about them in the back end of the year. But that was really because I knew they were going to the Super Bowl because I kept saying it all year. I said the NFC is just not good enough to beat this 49er team. However, this 49er team is not good enough to beat the Bills, the Ravens, or the Chiefs, which was proven at the end of the day. I don't hate on the 49ers. I want the 49er fans to get a reality check and understand and really dive into these numbers and whatnot. You do not beat great teams. You beat good teams and you beat a lot of NFC teams. You do not beat the Lamars, the Mahomes, the Burrows, the Josh Allens. You're not sitting around beating them consistently or at all. That's why I don't ever put you in the conversation with those teams, because I know if you play them, you're going to lose more times than not, just like Dak Prescott. I like Dak, but I know Dak is not on the level of those other quarterbacks because every time he plays those quarterbacks, he plays down. Now, he's going to get a chance to rectify this conversation because Dak Prescott get to play against the Ravens in week 3, I believe. And I think it's in Dallas. So the schedule guys gave him an absolute blessing that he got to go into Cleveland and play Deshaun Watson, but get Lamar Jackson in Dallas. But Lord only knows if Lamar want to put on the show in Dallas, it's not going to be pretty for the Dallas Cowboys. Another thing about Dak has not proven that he can fuck up a great defense yet. Like, every time you see Dak play against a legit defense, he don't really do shit against them. The only time he really even win against those type of teams is if the quarterback and the offense on the other side is just absolute dreadful. Like, per se, playing against the Jets the last couple years. Great defense, terrible offense. Dak Prescott, I don't think he's going to play good against if he got to play the Chiefs defense, the Ravens defense, or the Bills defense. For the simple reason, not just because those defenses are great, he now have to try to match the production of a Lamar, a Mahomes, a Josh Allen. I just think that's a tough ask. I think that's a tough ask for a quarterback who haven't consistently did it. Like, you can feel however you want to feel about Jalen Hurts. But the reason I always put Jalen Hurts over Dak is because it's not like Dak haven't had talent. Dak done had talent. Now, you may not feel as though he done had the type of talent that Jalen Hurts done had, but I would say Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, prime Zeke. He has indeed had Jason Witten, I believe he had Dallas. not Dallas Goedert. The dude who with the Texans now that I don't understand why they let him walk because he was great for them. But Dalton Schultz, like he done had a plethora of talent around him. And we can't even get started on all the talent he done had defensively and the offensive line that he done had. So Dak done had more than enough talent on that team. All pro talent in so many areas on that team. So it's not like Dak done had Lamar Jackson supporting cast of weapons. It ain't like Dak only had one great weapon at his disposal like Josh Allen done had the last couple years. It ain't like Dak was marching out there every single game with just a great tight end like Kelsey at his disposal, like Pat Mahomes. So he done had basically exactly what Jalen Hurts done had. And Jalen Hurts done beaten great teams, beaten great quarterbacks, got into a Super Bowl, played great in a Super Bowl. That's why it's hard for me to put Dak Prescott over Jalen Hurts. That's why it's hard for me to put Dak Prescott over Brock Purdy, because it don't matter how you, which it's very confusing to me that every time people try to talk about Dak, the way that they try to form his numbers and his stats. Because if you watch Dak in the playoffs, all the games where he put up like these crazy stats and they lost, it wasn't because Dak Prescott didn't get help or he did all he could. It was because Dak and that offense couldn't do shit for the entire game. And then when the game was out of reach and the defense started to sit back on shit and just let the clock try to run, Dak started putting up stats. But it was never games where Dak was just, it was tooth and nail. He was going back and forth with it. Dak has yet to have a game in the playoffs where it's him and another offense going back and forth, back and forth. Usually he is always coming from behind, trying to come from behind, hoping the team fall asleep so he can make a play. Those plays where he lost the game because the clock ran out and shit like that, those were not back and forth games. That was Dak Prescott and those teams trying to make last ditch efforts to win games after they had played like shit for the majority of the first 3 quarters. Like this notion that Dak done played so great in the playoffs and is so great against great teams because his stats, a lot of them stats is empty calories that do not matter at the end of the day when those games was played, because he did it when the game was essentially over. I don't understand why people choose to blatantly basically lie about Dak's stats, because that's basically what it is, because it don't take much at all to like go watch those games and whatnot. And Dak ain't even the type of I ain't here to kill Dak, but shout out to Dak on that contract, yo. Big dubs. Super dubs. But shout out to the San Francisco 49ers getting the big dub on Monday Night Football. But once again, like I said, for the New York Jets, you got an easy schedule coming up. Like, you're not playing no big dogs for the next, like, 5 weeks. You get to beat up on some pretty mediocre average you get to play the Mayo King, dude who like to put mayo in his coffee, Will Levis. Yo, Will Levis got one of the funniest highlights I've seen in my life. When he threw that pick 6, or when he threw the interception late in that game and he fell to his knees, I was in tears. Man's legitimately fell to his knees, my guy. Lord have mercy, that's going to be a meme forever. But listen, I told you, Will. I don't even know what made me want to watch Will Levis last year. I got no clue what made me start watching Will Levis. But after I had watched a couple games, I was like, yeah, this dude's not it. And then I remember watching one of the primetime games where he was put in there, and everybody was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of promise from him and yada yada. And at the end of the game, I remember thinking to myself, man, that was a terrible performance by him. I don't know how that other team was so bad that they let this. I think they played the Steelers. I think it was the Steelers versus the Steelers taking on the Tennessee Titans on like Thursday Night Football last year. And the shit was, people came away from the game saying, yeah, Will Levis got a lot of promise. I came away from the game saying, oh, there's a lot of shit he did in this game. There's a bunch of stupid shit that bad quarterbacks do. So very intriguing, very interesting. Getting into this Thursday Night Football game. Miami at home. Miami at home taking on the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen is 10-2 against Miami in his career. I did not know that. I looked that up today. And I did not know Tua is 1-6 in his career against the Buffalo Bills. So, the more you know. I could have probably told you that, though. I could have probably just guessed that because I could never tell. I was thinking about it earlier. What made me look up the stats was I was thinking to myself when I was going over this game, I was like, how many times have Tua actually beaten Josh Allen? Once. That is very interesting. Originally, I was going to take the Dolphins. And even before I had, after I had looked up the stats, I was still going to take the Dolphins. Here's the thing. I just feel like Josh Allen always found ways to win these games, whether it's through dominant performances or finding a way at the end to win it. And I understand, because I was talking to my homie and he was like, man, Miami just got so much talent compared to Buffalo. If you really look at Miami over the last couple years and you look at Buffalo's offense, they done had way more offensive talent than Buffalo over the last couple years. All Buffalo had was Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Aside from that, you would take damn near every single piece on Miami. And Tyreek would probably be taken before Diggs. So Miami is by far the more talented team, yes, but that's been the case for the past couple years. And then you look at the Buffalo defense. They've been losing pieces on that defense for the last 2 to 3 years. So I don't think it's a matter of just unbelievable talent that's been winning Buffalo these games. For one, I think Buffalo at this moment is the boogeyman when it comes to Miami because they just find ways to beat Miami. Josh Allen is phenomenal against Miami. It is very rare that Josh Allen just go out there and throwing up stinkers against Miami. For the most part, Josh Allen balls out when he play against Miami. That's why I love Josh Allen, man. When he play against the big dogs, he do enough to get the wins. You can say whatever you want to about Josh Allen, but he gives the team a chance to win. Period. People was trying to prey on my boy's downfall against the Cardinals. I kept sitting there watching that game saying, he'll figure it out. He'll figure it out. And he kept figuring it out. And then people at the end of the game was talking about, Kyler, how you missed this throw to Marvin Harrison Jr.? How you missed a throw? And I kept saying to myself, shit get real pressurous. Shit get real pressure-like when you got an elite quarterback on the other side figuring it out when he ain't got the type of talent you got. Then you start to press. Then you start to say to yourself, okay, shit, I got to figure it out. And Josh Allen, Lamar, and Pat Mahomes just back there like, nah, we ain't got to figure it out. We going to figure it out because that's what we do. It's no got to when this is your usual thing. It's no pressure when you was already built in a pressure cooker and had you figure this shit out. That's why those dudes to me are on just another level. I understand you got the analysts who'll go on TV and try to use team accomplishments and things like that to diminish Lamar and Josh Allen. But, you know, everybody can't get that Joe Burrow treatment, man. Where you can have all the talent in the world, not have a Super Bowl win, fold in the Super Bowl, and be praised as if you won that sumbitch. But we're going to get to him a little bit later. Anyways, I'm taking Buffalo to figure it out. I just got too much faith in Josh Allen. It might be biased. It might be a dumb pick, but we just 2 games in the season, ladies and gentlemen. True analyses of these games don't really happen until like week 4, week 5, when we done seen these teams play a couple times in the season. But I just have too much faith in Josh Allen. I told you, a lot of times when these things are closer where one team might be better, you got to always look to the quarterback. And this quarterback matchup, I love Tua. I'm a Alabama apologist for the quarterbacks. Josh Allen's going to figure it out. Josh Allen is going to figure it out. Unless Josh Allen just have one of those stinkers, which is, it can happen. Every quarterback can have a bad game where they just not have it, that they don't have it that night. But I don't believe that's going to happen. I think Josh Allen show up for these type of games, these divisional games. I think he show up for these. So I'm taking Buffalo. More analysis of that game afterwards. I want to talk about somebody real quick, though, because I want to give a shout out to somebody, because I'm no hater. Shout out to Baker Mayfield, man. Baker Mayfield's been balling. He had a hell of a game Sunday. Again, now I understand it was against Washington. I do understand it was against Washington. I understand it was a rookie quarterback. And I understand the pressure that you might think or might have going into a quarterback in a game against, say, a Chiefs or Ravens, Bills or Bengals. You come into a game a little bit more loose when it's a Panthers, a Washington, so I do get the people who will immediately say that, but shout out to Baker, man, because I'm no hater. Baker had a great game. I remember days where Baker wouldn't even have great games against teams like that. So shout out to Baker. Baker looked phenomenal over there in Tampa Bay right now. I saw him somebody say Baker's so happy, or he said he happy and that's why he playing like this. It's easy to be happy when you ain't got to play against the Ravens and the Pittsburgh and the Bengals all the time. I'd be very happy too if I didn't have to live in that type of division. Then you got to play Josh Allen. Then you got to play Pat Mahomes. Yeah, I'd be real happy if I didn't have to line up to play them motherfuckers on a every season basis too. I could just feast off of the bad teams in the NFC, what they play in the NFC South. Yeah, I'd be happy too if I got to play Bryce Young and the sorry ass Panthers 2 times a year, up and down Derek Carr 2 times a year, and Kirk Cousins and the fucking Falcons 2 times a year. Boy, did you see Kirk Cousins on Sunday? And this is what we paid for, my lord. Just a terrible game by Kirk, a dumbass interception towards the end of that game. And this is why I get irritated when people consistently back up Kirk Cousins, because we know what Kirk Cousins is. We know what he is. And yet, and still, people will consistently try to defend this motherfucker. I will never understand it. I would not be surprised if they go to Michael Penix sooner than later. Because with how the Steelers didn't score a touchdown, ladies and gentlemen. Just field goals. They did not score a touchdown on offense or defense. And they still ended up winning the game because the Falcons are absolute. Not the Falcons necessarily. Just Kirk Cousins gave them nothing. He did nothing to make the Falcons look better than what they looked at their best last year. And that to me is a problem. Now maybe he's still hurt. If he's still hurt, I don't understand why you marched him out there. But I'm not finna give him the hurt excuse. He played, so he was healthy enough to play. If he was hurt, he would not have played. So I'm not trying to hear that shit. Falcons look like they might end up having to switch to Penix because Kirk might be cooked. That was a terrible performance. And then, the hell? And then you talk, give me 1 second. Thought I lost something. I found it. But next I want to talk about Joe Burrow. At what point in time is y'all going to get serious about Joe Burrow, man? The man doesn't have far more talent at his disposal than Pat Mahomes, Lamar, Josh Allen. Yet, he get excused at every turn. He more injured than Lamar, Mahomes, Allen. But for some reason, he is excused at every turn. Joe Burrow has not been good the last, season's worth of football games. For some reason, he is allowed to live off of losing in the Super Bowl when he had a stacked Bengals team, and then losing in the AFC Championship the year after that with yet another stacked football team. But now the teams are not as stacked as they once were. And now it's time for honest conversations with a Saint. Snap it up! We got to get right into it. Listen to me. I done said for a long time, Joe Burrow is not Josh Allen. He's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Pat Mahomes. I don't care how you feel about that comment, that statement. I said I don't know how great he is, but I know he ain't those three, because the way those three impact winning is not Joe Burrow. And now, to me, more people are starting to see that. Joe Burrow, when you have that much talent at your disposal, it's going to be easy to find out how bad you are, because it'll be real easy to blow it. I mean, it'll be real easy to see how bad a quarterback could be with that type of talent around him. Now, I get it. Majority of these analysts on TV are white. You got a white quarterback came in, smoked that cigar, swag, won a natty, got to a Super Bowl. It's easy to say Joe Burrow carried the city on his back, the city he grew up in. But the Bengals were stacked. The Bengals had talent left and right. And now, like I said before, Joe Burrow is on the clock. The Bengals are on the clock, because at some point in time, you will not have that type of talent. You will not have a team that can go out there on a week-to-week basis and beat teams just because they have far more talent. You will not be able to march out Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon, and say, just out-talent the opposing defense. Because no defense in the league can put that much talent on the field to stop you guys. That's the reality. And then you say, we have so much talent on this team. We have more talent than the talented teams. And if you don't believe that talent is an actual thing where you can have an overload of talent where it actually look no further than the 49ers. People don't think Brock Purdy that great, but you think that's a ass load of talent. People don't think Jalen Hurts is that great. It's an ass load of talent. So this notion that Joe Burrow was some great other world. And this is the thing. When I watched Joe Burrow, I never saw a quarterback that was beating teams because he was just ultra talented. I didn't think he made mistakes. I didn't think he made I never looked at it and said, Joe Burrow think he bigger than the team. Like, he play like he gotta be the superhero. Now, granted, you don't really gotta play like you the superhero when they're gonna give you all the credit at the end of the day anyways if you win. So, important to keep that in mind. But Joe Burrow seemed to always be a quarterback who understood, I got more talent on my team than they can stop with that defense. Let me just get the talent the ball. That's one of the reasons I used to go over the last couple of years, I was so critical of the Bengals. And I always said, Zach Taylor is not a good coach. He's not a good OC. He's not a good head coach. For one, as a head coach, he's an offensive-minded head coach and an OC. What the fuck does he do for this offense to put them in position to be successful? Let me ask you something. If Kyle Shanahan was the OC of this team with the same talent that they had in their peak, do you think Kyle Shanahan's results would be Zach? Because Zach Taylor got the one Super Bowl, and it's a lot of reasons he got to that Super Bowl, but nonetheless, I won't get into the details right now. Do you think Kyle Shanahan would have underachieved at this level? If you give Andy Reid, matter of fact, fuck that. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen. If those three guys were given the exact same Bengals teams that Joe Burrow lost the Super Bowl with and lost the AFC Championship with, do you believe in the 2-year span, those three quarterbacks don't win one Super Bowl and get to 2 Super Bowls with that exact roster? But for some reason, we keep letting Joe Burrow off the hook for these type of things. Joe Burrow went into New England, New England, one of the worst teams in the league, went into Cincinnati. And Joe Burrow and his offense, once again, couldn't figure it out. And they lose this game. Could you imagine if that was Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes? They would have got smoked in the media, especially Lamar. But for some reason, for Joe Burrow and the Bengals, it's, they do this every season. It's excused constantly. This is not the same team that's been playing in the last couple years. They got an unhappy Jamar Chase because he ain't been paid yet. They got a T. Higgins who don't want to be there and won't be there next year because they won't pay him. He got to be forced to play on a franchise tag. Mind you, he dealing with a hamstring injury right now. Tyler Boyd, no longer there. Joe Mixon, no longer there. The offensive line has not gotten significantly greater. And the cold reality, in an honest conversation with Saint, Joe Burrow ain't done too much developing over the last couple years. You want to know why? Because he done been able to rely on Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon. Zach Taylor ain't developed as a coach in the last couple years. You want to know why? Because he been able to rely on Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow, the studs on that defense. It's just, and now the defense start to lose pieces. The offense start to lose pieces. Now the team start to level out talent-wise on the same level as a Ravens, a Chiefs, a Bills. And now you no longer get to walk into these other stadiums against these other teams with a plethora of talent. It's so overwhelming compared to these other teams. Now your quarterback have to play in the same type of tough obstacles that the Lamar Jackson's got to play against, the Pat Mahomes got to play against, the Josh Allen's got to play against. And they don't get excuses made for them. Josh Allen do at times, but for the most part, people go at them all the time when they come up short. Pat Mahomes done won Super Bowls and they was going at him when he come up short in regular season games. Like, come on. And we still out here giving Joe Burrow a pass. I just find it interesting. Because now, Joe Burrow got to go out there and quarterback. But if you watch Joe Burrow, you tell me what Joe Burrow done improved on from season to season. You tell me what you seen in Joe Burrow's game that's just gotten so much better from year 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Because I can look at Lamar, I can look at Josh Allen, I can look at Pat Mahomes and tell you, I don't know how great any of them three, none of them three dudes were great at reading defenses when they first came in. Look at how great they read them now. None of them dudes had great pocket presence when they first came in. Look how impeccable their pocket awareness is now. Look at how impeccable their pocket presence is now. Look at how they able to maneuver and operate from the pocket. Look at how smart Lamar, Pat, and Josh are at being taking off and understanding how to use their feet to maneuver. Look at how they understand how to get down, excluding Josh Allen. Look at how they understand how to control the game when they have less talent at their disposal, how to keep their team in the games. When they know when they have to go score. They understand importance in drives in second half. It's just so many things that those three quarterbacks done improved on a year-to-year basis when you watch them play. Lamar when it come to his throwing ability. Josh Allen when it come to his accuracy. Pat Mahomes even with his accuracy and some of the things. Like, you just look at those three quarterbacks and you could just continuously point out different things that they just continue to get better at year in, year out. What has Joe Burrow gotten better at? He done been the same quarterback. Just great talent around him. And then when you see him missing talent, he have rough games and you say, oh, well, you know, he got no help. Wait a minute now. If he is the ultra talent, then he should be able to play with less help and be able to lift and be that high tide that rises all boats. But he hasn't been that. But people talk about him like he is. James Jones said today, Joe Burrow is an average quarterback with a lot of talent. And Chase Daniels talking about, oh, they're going to have you on the bulletin board. You see how easy it is for white dudes to not want to talk bad about quarterbacks, a white knight type quarterback. The media don't want to tell you that it's Joe Burrow. They don't want to tell you that Joe Burrow haven't done too much developing. Because they keep telling you that that's the second best quarterback in the NFL off of losing the Super Bowl. I told you, it's all a matter of perspective. If it was Lamar Jackson, they would have told you he lost the Super Bowl with all that talent. Shame on him. Trash. It's Joe Burrow. Hey, man, he got them to a Super Bowl. They don't even tell you that he lost it. They act like he won it. Shameful practices. Absolutely shameful practices. But we're going to find out this year. Next game, Buffalo. I mean, not Buffalo. The Chiefs at home Joe Burrow. You ain't going into Kansas City with that team you had the last couple times, my guy. T. Higgins probably won't be playing. Boyd and Mixon definitely not playing. Some of the defensive players you had at that point in time, not there. It's going to be and this Kansas City Chiefs team, better than the one you beat that time when you had all that talent. Mind you, it took Pat Mahomes finally falling apart in the second half of that game because of Lou Anarumo in that defense. And it took Pat Mahomes being great to beat, so it was never like you just blew these dudes out. You rarely beat Lamar Jackson. I believe Joe Burrow 1-5 or 1-4 against Lamar Jackson. You can continue to brag to the Bills about how you done beat Josh Allen, but you done went into those games against Josh Allen and the Bills with far more talent. So, gonna be I can't wait to see this team again. Joe Burrow can prove me wrong this year. I hope they got the Bills, and I know they got the Ravens on their thing, and obviously they got the Chiefs. I hope they got the Bills on the docket this year too. Those three teams deserve to play against the Bengals when the Bengals ain't got that loaded roster of talent. Mind you, the Ravens done beat that loaded roster of talent, so have the Chiefs. So I just want this so bad for the Bills. But the other game that I'm tuned in for this week is the Detroit Lions taking on the Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. I'm super interested in this game because I don't think neither of these two teams is good enough to beat the 49ers. But the way that I look at it is, let's say Brock Purdy have his worst game against one of these two teams in the AFC Championship. Can one of these two teams capitalize and end up winning that game? Now, it's easier for me to think the Packers could because they got Jordan Love. If you have a shit game and you going against Jordan Love, you're losing that game. However, when you look at Baker and Goff, to me, these is damn near the same quarterback. Shout out to Baker because I do believe Baker done made a lot of improvements to his game since leaving Cleveland. I don't know if you want to say he done been humbled. I don't get into all that, but he definitely done made improvements to his game, and it does help to have Mike Evans. But the embracement of him in Cleveland, I mean, they were done with him in Cleveland. The fact that these dudes wanted him in Tampa, they surrounded him with dudes that supported him and wanted to rock with him. I rock with it. And they getting the best out of Baker. So if he can keep this going and Baker can play at this level, man, because Tampa Bay got weapons on offense. And Baker seemed to be great in this offense. And they played a close game against this team last year in the playoffs. And I don't think the Detroit Lions defense I understand Baker didn't look great for an entire game against the Lions defense last year, but I don't really think Baker missed a couple throws in that game that if he hit those throws, I mean, that could be a completely different game. And Baker with another year with this team, dudes that trust him even more this year than they did last year. A coaching staff that trust him more this year than they did last year. Him trusting this offense and these dudes and himself more than he did. I'm gonna be honest with you. To me, the Bucks not that far off after seeing that. And I understand that was the Washington Commanders. So I'm not getting too high. But if the Bucks have everything go right for them this year, the Bucks could end up in the in the NFC Championship game. I'm just telling you right now. If the Bucks have everything go, now I don't see them beating the 49ers right now because I don't think Baker is the type of quarterback that can beat Kyle Shanahan's defense or offense at this moment. However, see, the 49ers is the type of defense where if you make mistakes, you will pay for it. And that's why you need Lamar, Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, those are the type of quarterbacks that now, basically, when I say Burrow, you got to understand it's the talent. So I can't even put him in there this year because who knows how he'd play against them without the talent around him. But those other three, we done seen them figure out ways to beat the 49ers, even when they don't have the type of talent the 49ers have, just because they great quarterbacks. To me, I understand Baker is not that type of quarterback. That's why I'm not taking them against the 49ers. But if Brock Purdy were to have his worst game, it's still so hard because that defense could play good enough to get 2 turnovers and score on Baker. I'm very interested to see how the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Detroit Lions play throughout the majority of this season, because what's stopping me from going in on both of those teams is the limitations of Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield. If I had any type of faith in them, it would make it more competitive to me in the NFC. Right now, it's just the Eagles, in my opinion, because I know a lot of people think Dallas is great right now, but I really think Dallas could end up being a bad team this year. If this play out the way that I think it do, because in order for Dallas to have a great year, that means Dak gonna have to level up. He didn't really play great against the Browns. I don't see him playing great against the Ravens. But let's say he end up beating the Ravens. Let's say he end up starting to beat a lot of these great teams that he play now. Then that put a whole nother conversation into perspective, because now maybe Dak can end up beating the 49ers. Maybe Jalen Hurts and them, like, you know what I'm saying? They put more competition for the 49ers. But if this is the same old Cowboys Dak that they can't beat the Ravens, they don't beat the Chiefs, they don't beat the Bills, they don't beat the Bengals, they don't beat the 49ers, then this will probably just come down to the Eagles or, like I said, the dark horses. Well, Detroit's not a dark horse for a lot of people because a lot of people have Detroit, but I'm a realist. I'm not just going into this blindly. I understand that Detroit still got Jared Goff at the quarterback. I understand all the talent that they got, but they still got Jared Goff. So, in a perfect world, though, like I said, Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield, to me, they not too far away from Brock Purdy, even though I would take Brock over both of them. But they have the talent. They got the coaching. It could get very interesting. With that being said, though, I appreciate y'all for joining me on another episode of Kicking It with Saint. Tell somebody you fuck with him. Tell somebody you love him. We will be back to break down the Thursday night football game. Tell somebody you fuck with him. Tell somebody you love him. You could be anything in the world. So please choose to be kind to somebody today. Like, subscribe, share. I fuck with you. I love you. Saint out.
Poor tackling.
What happened between you and Talib on the field early in the game?
I don't know. You gonna ask him because he done finished the game. Ice up, son. Ice up.
I got the moves like hot sauce. Lil' mama taking the top off. I'm laying down getting topped off. After this, you know she getting knocked off. I know she loving the money, so I keep on thumbing and thumbing. She say she horny when she taking shots, so I keep them coming and coming. Now I'm putting dick in her tummy. Scoop her up like I'm raking her something. You would think shawty red track, the way that she running and running. You getting dumber and dumber. You out here chasing the bone. After she finished from giving me dome, the Uber is taking her home.